What is going on, everyone? My name is Boyd, and I am back with some more Age of Mythology action, spawning in the bottom of the map in the red color, playing as Poseidon. His name is Nigam. On the other side of the map, in the blue color, also playing Poseidon, is AOM King, also known as Korn Naraku. This game was played in 2009 in probably in what we could consider these two players' primes. Maybe less so King, but he was definitely at a very high level in this game, and same with Nigam. I'm very excited to bring you this game. RTS Sanctuary is back, so I can actually download stuff. So we're diving deep into the expert replays on RTS Sanctuary to find some pretty great games. The map is Ghost Lake, so we're going to be seeing a lot of really interesting fights, and it's a double gold mine Ghost Lake. See how we have two gold mines in the base? Most maps normally only have the one. So when you have the double medium gold mine, it means you can play a little bit less militarily and more economically. You don't actually have to really hit that 10-minute point of, oh shit, my gold mine's expired, I'm gonna have to go and find a different one. And in order to secure that gold mine, you need to have a lot of army. So a lot of players can play these sorts of maps and like play what we like, which basically they just play a little bit less on the aggressive map control style and maybe more on the early heroic age style. So we'll probably see Nigam and King attempt to go along that route. We do see that King has only found a one boar at the start of the game, which is, I guess it's okay. I don't know what he did, but he's got the double granary up already, which isn't the best thing. You don't really want to be doing that if you can help it, but that's definitely something that it doesn't set you back too much because you're kind of okay, but it does mean that your pickaxe and husbandry are going to be 50 wood later than you would have liked, essentially. As opposed to Nigam, who found, well, his boar got lured, so that's good for him, but he found his caribou straight away, so he sent his villagers over there instead of having to build his granary over here. So what you can do at the start of the game, if you don't find your early hunt, is you send your villagers to the berry bushes, but you don't build that granary until your villagers hit that 15 food. So if your villagers hit the 15 food, then you build the granary. If they and if you find a secondary hunt patch, then you send them over to that hunt patch like Nigam did here, and you get a pretty nice situation there. And Nigam's also found his other caribou. Unfortunately for him, it's on the complete opposite side, which we don't like to see as any civilization. If your villagers have to walk a bunch, it's not the best thing. So he's going to send these villagers that were over on this granary back home to hunt, as opposed to running them all the way over here. So it's not the worst, but it's obviously not the best. And you can see that when he's killing this polar bear, he's got his town center shooting that polar bear as well, so you get that killed as efficiently as possible. And we do see that a lot of scouting is going on. King has spotted this outside berry bush gathering facility, so he might be able to abuse that early game and hit that with the scout and all the other good things. What's going on in his base at the moment? Nothing too interesting just yet. He's going to be throwing down that temple. We do have a relic here. Oh, Tusk of the Iron Ball. This is a huge relic. This temple's going down pretty fast. He's actually got the two villages building that up, and we see that Nigam's actually scouted that out. So he sees the double villager putting that temple up, and we do see, well, 5 villagers building the temple. So it looks like this relic is really on the cards. So Niga's probably going to cancel this villager and build his own Theseus in order to get this relic as soon as possible. And you can see he's done that. And King, on the other hand, is also doing the same thing. He's going to be building this Theseus, but it's going to be very late. And it looks like Nigam's going to be getting the little bit of an advantage there, grabbing that Tusk of the Iron Boar. Did I explain what that is? It is a 10% boost to Cavalry Archer and Chariot Archer hit points. So in this matchup, being a very heavily Hippocamp-based matchup, because you get those bonuses for being Poseidon, you get the cheaper stables, you get the cheaper, basically cheaper everything, and you can see that King being distracted a little bit there by the Catastrophic Scout. He's moving in. Gonna see that relic's been taken. Unfortunately for him, he's going to be a little bit unhappy about that. But he can send this Theseus over to this location here where he knows there's a couple of villagers gathering berries and start harassing that a little bit while the Theseus has dropped that Tusk of the Iron Boar into the temple. And we do see that this means that both Nigam and King are going to be a little bit late to the classical age. King's going to be a little bit early because he didn't really put too much of a big issue on getting to that classical age. Sorry, on getting that relic early. He put more of the issue on getting his economy in a strong position. So he's going to be hitting the classical age at a normal time, as opposed to Nigam, who's going to be a little bit delayed. Both players going through Hermes, and we do see that while King didn't manage to get the Tusk of the Iron Boar relic, he is going to get that Kithara of Apollo, which, while it doesn't seem like a lot, villagers moving faster means villagers gathering faster. If they're not efficient, see, these villagers here are going to be actually gathering faster from these caribou because they have to walk to and from the town center, and they'll just be doing that a little bit faster. We see a couple of stables going up for King. He's only got the 2. He's only sitting at the 4 with 4 villagers on wood, so he's probably going to chuck up a couple more when he has the resources. Maybe 3 stables and start producing constantly from those. Nigam, on the other hand, going to be hitting the classical age in about 5 seconds, and he's probably going to do a similar thing. He's got 300 wood in the bank, so ready to build up 3 stables straight away. We'll see where he decides to build them. Generally, you want to build your stables in your base, because they're fast units, so you don't need to have them pumping right into your opponent's base, but that's totally fine. We see a couple of stables, 2 stables going up, 3 stables going up. Generally, I like to see in this matchup, I know it's like a little bit funny to suggest this, but I like to see some Toxotos mixed into the army, so you don't spend so much resources on food, so that you can then hit the heroic age a little bit faster. And the thing about Toxotos is, while it does make your army less mobile, they're actually like a really strong unit in this composition. So if you have Toxoto, Hippocon mixed together, it doesn't actually beat pure Hippocon, just because of the way that the pathing works, and if you can micro really well, then it's totally fine. King, on the other hand, has actually built 4 stables, which is a little bit funny. He definitely can't produce from all of those at once. Potentially he's using some of those sneaky strategies where he's like, well, I know my opponent's scouting me out really well, so if I throw down all of these stables and I can like maybe send some information that's not quite right, and see what happens here. As we can see that the medium Hippocon are already out for King. Nigam, on the other hand, has not got the medium Hippocon, so he's not going to be looking for any fights, whereas King's going to be moving in here attempting to get something happening. Nigam probably shouldn't be fighting here. He's got less Hippocon, and the Hippocon are worse. You can see a little bit of early micro going on there. You can see that Theseus is moving around as best as he can, and it looks like King's attempting to trap that Theseus and do what he can there. A lot of damage onto this Hippocon. You can see some little mini micro going on there, just like moving them back and forth. No units die just yet. Looks like Nigam's micro a little bit better than him. Good focus fire. But King's units are just that much stronger than what Nigam's got. But Nigam does have defender's advantage, so all of these units are going to be producing right into the front. So it looks like while King's units were a little bit stronger there, it looks like Nigam does come out a little bit in front on the army losses, but he did probably take more damage than the opponent. So while Nigam's a little bit ahead on the population now, I assume. Yeah, a little bit ahead on the population, he isn't ahead on hit points, if that makes any sense. So if this was a Bloodsport game, then I would probably favour King's army than Nigam's at this point, even though there's more population for Nigam. That makes sense, right? Yeah, we're going good. So you see that King's moving his army around. Looks like a little bit of a raid coming onto King's berry bushes here, but King is way on top of that, not leaving his units out in the open in this matchup. He's being very smart. He's moved all of his army back in, all of his villages back into the base so that the raids aren't that efficient. We have some nice houses here. It's kind of like a mini wall, but units can just sneak in here. So I wouldn't mind seeing a wall here and a wall here just to stop that from happening too badly. And we can see that King is now moving in to Nigam's base. Nigam, on the other hand, is going to be spotting this. He's got his watchtowers up. He doesn't have crenellations though, so there's no real harm in moving your army through the base of your opponent. If your opponent has watchtowers don't do anything unless they have crenellations to your army. And we can see that Nigam's going to be catching King out a little bit here, but it looks like these units are going to be totally fine to just run away. Looks like none of them are really going to die. Maybe that low hit point one there. It looks like King's going to be totally fine there. So just a little bit distractions there. And we do see that Aphrodite coming out for King. So King being a little bit sneaky there. You can see how the four stables might have made Nigam think that King's going really heavy on the medium Hippocon, especially because he bought medium Hippocon really early as well. So there's a lot of little mind games there. King's now also shuffled a lot of villages onto wood, even though he doesn't have any wood villages, any wood-based armies. So it looks like he's going to be wanting to grab a really early second town center here or here, and then start pumping out the economy. You can see that the population difference between King and Nigam is 61 to 95, so Nigam's sitting in a really strong spot, but doesn't really matter because we have that second gold mine in our base. So this is how this semi-fast heroic kind of works. It's like it doesn't really matter. You don't really have to fight all too much, and you go through Aphrodite and you can get like a nice curse going on here and potentially win a fight or two, and you can start heavily producing prodromus. So prodromus are counter cavalry units. So in a full cavalry army, you build those prodromus and you can do some really nasty stuff. You can see a bunch being produced now. So King's not opting for that early second town center, even though I feel like, I mean, maybe the early second town center will be a bad idea because it means you have to spend even more food producing villages. And while that does compile, it means that your army is going to be delayed. And if your army is completely food based, it's not the best thing to do. So we can see King's really just piling villages onto food. He's only got 6 villages on gold. The prodromus only cost, what is it? Oh, I missed that. 36 gold. So that's a really big thing for King. Nigam, on the other hand, looks like he's stopped production. I mean, he's at 108 population, so he's totally fine. He is raiding around. He's going to be picking up a ground name. I'm not sure why you do this. It doesn't really give you anything except for some small hit point losses, and you kill a couple of those units, but doesn't really do anything. So there's that. Nigam now going to be going to the heroic age, also through Aphrodite. So nobody going through Dionysus, which is a little bit strange considering the nature of the Poseidon War. If you get the stronger units, you've already got Tusk of the Iron Boar. So if you get even stronger than that through Dionysus, then you can really have the advantage in the cavalry war. But it looks like Aphrodite, the god power, is just a little bit too important. So you getting the advantage through resources there because you kill off so many units with the Aphrodite's curse. If you use curse on a bronzed army, it still does exactly the same thing. So then you still have an advantage numbers wise. So I guess that's the thinking there. I still think I would probably pick, at least in this situation, I would probably have picked Dionysus, but that's just me, and I'm a scrub, so whatever. And we can see a little bit of fighting here. This isn't really going to do much. We're just seeing a little bit of scout. We see that there's 2,500 gold left, so King spots that. I'm sure he would have taken note of how much gold is left on the gold mine, exactly what's going on in the base of Nigam, and he's going to be like, alright, can't really do anything right now, so maybe I should start building some town centers. He doesn't really have the gold because he's been producing so many units right now. And we just see a little bit of raids going on here. This isn't really what... I mean, if he gets a fight, it's good. He's got the prodromus, so the prodromus is heavily going to counter what's going on for Nigam. So Nigam doesn't really want to be fighting this if he can help. So it's just a little bit of stuff here. We do see a curse going down. Heavy. Ooh, that's really unlucky for King. If you had that heavy heavy cavalry coming out right there, the curse wouldn't have killed as many units because it kills units based on HP, and the HP buff that the heavy cavalry would have given him would have been a big win for him. But that's unfortunate there. We do see a little bit of a scout going on there for King here. King's going to be retreating now. He's actually got the advantage now. He's got a second town center. He's producing some archery ranges because why not? He's got a lot of wood coming in, so he needs to maybe shuffle some villagers off that wood and maybe onto more food, considering his army is so food based, or he's going to be spending it all on archery ranges. You never really want to be putting 2 villagers on the buildings. You want to actually put 1 villager on each building so it builds faster. We do see a little bit of a raid going on here. King does need to think about securing, well, he has secured this second gold mine out here because he's got a nice town center here, so it's going to be pretty big for him. He does need to refill his army though. If Nigam were to hit this location here and also hit this location here at this point, then he would be able to gold starve. And even though King is currently ahead on the town centers, which means he's going to be slightly ahead on economy, having no gold means you have no army. So that's the general gist there. I think he should be pretty certain that this is here. I'm not sure if you actually can see this, but when you're playing, but if you do see this here, then you should know that there's a building there. It's just a little bit of a trick, but I'm pretty sure that's just a recorded game bug and you can't see that normally. But that being said, what you can see is the earth does change around it. I'm pretty sure that is normal. You can see some toxicos being produced here from King. King's producing some villages. Still hasn't grabbed this back town center yet. Upgrades wise, he hasn't grabbed any more gold upgrades. He does have the resources for it, and I don't see him grabbing that shaft mine just yet. Nigam, on the other hand, doing that's a pig. I don't care about that. Villager, he hasn't got any upgrades for himself, so this is kind of why King, while he's a little bit behind on the population, is pretty good on the gold. You might want to think about building another storehouse here. You want to start being as efficient as possible with your units. And we do see that King has picked off a little bit of a silly army movement there from Nigam. You really need to be pretty aware of what your opponent's doing when you're moving your army around. Otherwise, he can catch you off and like pick off a unit here and there, which is what just happened there. We do see a little bit of a raid coming on over here, but it looks like King's going to be all over that. The army difference here is pretty significant though, so this isn't a fight you really want to be taking. You'd be better off just running away. It looks like Nigam's going to pick off a bunch of prodromas there with just a little mini raid there. King he's grabbing shaft mine. He's not got the irrigation yet. I feel like at this point in the game, it's really important to just get really on top of upgrades. But it looks like a little bit of a fight going on here. We do have Curse available, and I think the Curse should be casting. He is casting it, which means that Nigam's forced the defensive Curse in a way, but that's kind of what you want, so you can have all those pigs, and then you can kind of keep fighting and maybe get a gold starve going on here. Because as we can see, all the gold mines are about to expire in the base. We can see there are 2,000 gold left on King's home gold mine, and we see 800 on Nigam. So Nigam's going to be needing to catch back up on the army in order to defend his outside gold mine here. He might want to think about getting some more villages on wood, getting some toxicos mixed in so that he can deal with prodromus a little bit more efficiently instead of having just mainly cavalry. Part of the reason why you got Aphrodite over Dionysus, like as I was talking about before, is because you're going to say, all right, I'm not actually going to go completely cavalry. I'm gonna mix some toxicos in there. So we do see that Nigam's now throwing down some archery ranges. King, on the other hand, has got his third town center, same with Nigam, so they're both steadily producing villages constantly. Really nice raid here going on for Nigam. Unfortunately, I don't think, well, I think the Kithra of Apollo is a pretty strong relic to have there, so King's just microing a little bit here, but it looks like some nice micro back from Nigam, so Nigam's going to pick off a couple of these villages, but at this stage of the game, it's not the biggest deal to be losing a couple of villages here or there. You can just continually produce them, and it's totally fine. It's not like if you lost a villager earlier, or like a couple of villages earlier in the game, so that's totally fine there. King's got a lot of resources in the bank, and I think he should. Well, he's got a lot of stuff in the bank, so I think fortified town centers and a market would be a really big choice here, and maybe even thinking about heading to the Mythic Age. That being said, you don't get access to Hera, so it might not be the best idea potentially spending your resources in the Heroic Age, and maybe making a push on this gold mine would be the right choice for King, just because gold starving is at the end of the game if you can get that, as opposed to maybe an Artemis or a oh, I just had a mind blank. I'll just leave that thought there. So a little bit of a fight coming on here. Not exactly the best fight here for King. He's lost a lot of units. All of his army was kind of in the top portion of the map. Nigam's sitting at 145 population to King's 119. So this fight going heavily in favor of Nigam. All these prodromus though coming in now, they're going to be dealing a lot of damage to what Nigam's got. And King does have defender's advantage here, so he's going to be able to pick off a lot of Nigam's units. Do see that the Atlanta heroes out and about. These heroes are very strong, very fast units that have a lot of HP and do a lot of damage, so it's a great unit to mix into your army. Nigam probably not making the best decision fighting there. You never really want to be fighting right on the front of your opponent unless you've got a significant advantage, because the defender's advantage of units being produced straight into your army is a little bit too significant. A Nemean Lion now coming out for Nigam there. Nemean Lions are just generally a really strong unit. They do area of effect damage with the special ability, and they've got 660 HP, so it's a gigantic tank. If you don't have any heroes to deal with it, then it's pretty significant. And we do see that the Atlanta hero attempting to focus fire down this Nemean line. We do see Theseus has got onto it as well, so a little bit of micro there for Nigam, needs to run that away. And part of the reason why you get these heroes in, part of the reason you get these Nemean linemen myth units in is to just simply distract the heroes. It's not really to deal damage. And unfortunately, Nigam didn't really micro that too well. You just want to kind of move it around and force his heroes to be chasing it. And we do see that this fight probably not going in the favor of Nigam anymore, so King getting a little bit ahead. Both players sitting at 120 population, but it looks like King, with that defender's advantage again, is going to be able to replenish that army a little bit faster on the front, so Nigam's going to have to just retreat a little bit there. We do see that a bunch of stuff is happening over here, not really that important. But more and more buildings being produced now for King, so this is a really important part of Greek wars, which you don't often get to see, because normally Greek wars can finish in the classical age, so you don't normally get to get this far. So what happens is, when the economy settles and you have 3 town centers, you have 45 town centers, units die so fast, so you need to replenish them really quickly. So what you do is you just build a bunch of military buildings. Something like 4 military buildings per town center is a pretty good rule of thumb. There's no harm in building more if you have the resources. We just see a bunch of Peltas coming out as well, so a lot of counter units here. So if you can micro these Peltas onto Toxotes, if you can micro the Toxotes onto Prodromus and the Prodromus onto Hippocon, then you've got a really strong counter to what your opponent's doing, as opposed to what Nigam's got, which is simply just heavy Hippocon, and the heavy Hippocon really do need to get onto the back line of what King's got. So King is sitting in a really strong place there. Nigam had to cast Ceasefire because he was sitting at a pretty difficult situation. He also doesn't have the fortified town centers just yet. His economy is sitting very weak as well, so I think part of the reason why King's got edged out this little lead here, and that score is currently sitting 1,000 points in front of his opponent, is because he squeezed out economic upgrades through simply microing a little bit, maybe not microing a little bit better, but just like unit efficiency. These Hippocon cost a little bit more overall, I think, than the... Maybe they're really similar, actually. I think they cost a little bit more overall than the Prodromus. Toxotes cost a little bit more than the Peltas. So it's like you squeeze out these little advantages and you can spend your resources a little bit more efficiently and all the other stuff. And you see a bunch of these buildings being produced on the front for Nigam, because he knows that he needs to have this location here. Otherwise, if he loses it, it's all over. King on the other hand going, there we go, that's what it's called. King on the other hand going to the mythic age through Hephaestus. Hephaestus being the strongest god for economy. You get the palace, not palace, the plenty vault, and you get access to Colossi, and Colossi being some of the strongest units. See a little bit of micro there from King. If you move your Prodromus around, then the Toxotes just don't kill any of the units. And this fight here is going to be pretty important for Nigam. If Nigam can't hold on here, then it's going to be all over because he loses this location. We do see that. A nice micro here from Nigam, picking off all of these Prodromus with the Toxotes, but there's so many Toxotes in the backline for King, so all of these units are going to be dealing a lot of damage. A little bit of micro there from Nigam, really nice there, distracting all of these Toxotes. You want to just kind of focus in this situation, you kind of want to focus your toxotes onto other units that aren't that fast. So maybe the backline or things like that. And we do see that King's doing that. All of these units are turning like flies, and Nigam does decide to tap out. He says GG. He realizes that this location is not able to be held onto. 160 population for King, 116 population for Nigam. So really, really well played there by King. He did manage to squeeze out small advantages here over what Nigam was doing. So Nigam played very standard. I think he felt like because of these four stables here, which were scouted out really well by Nigam, he thought that King was going to be sitting in the classical age and really heavily spamming Hippocon. But what King did was go, look, I'm going to make this seem like I'm going to try and be aggressive. So he went in and he even sacrificed some units trying to force some aggression on Nigam, which forces him to produce units. And then he just said, you know what, I'm actually only going to build 15 Hippocon. And then I'm going to go to the heroic age. Then I'm going to build a bunch of Prodromus. And being able to do that meant he squeezed out an economic advantage by spending less units on less resources on military, and then managed to buy some economic upgrades, which meant he got more resources. And you can see how that snowballs by spending less units on military, but still having a strong composition, more resources on economy, means you get more resources, which means you can spend more resources on other things. So it's just like really, really smart play by King there. I think Nigam played it really well, and I actually, if I was completely honest about this, I think that maybe like mechanically Nigam potentially played this a little bit like better than King. Like I feel like in a lot of the situations in the small fights, he was actually out microing King, but because King plays so smart, it's all too much. And King does manage to squeeze out a victory here. So really well played by him. Let me know if you like these sort of old games. I'm thinking about going back and casting a lot of the top three from or top four from like 2006 to 2010. So that's King, Magja, and Nigam, and then like other people like Spoink. And if you don't know these players, I'll definitely check them out because they're really, really good people. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Boynt, and I'll see you guys next time.